life. Time is never time at all. You can never ever leave without leaving a piece of you. Forever changed, we will never be the same. The more you change, the less you feel. Believe, believe in me. Believe, believe. Oh, here's my chat. No one's even here yet. That life can change, that you're not stuck getting by. We're going to talk about progressions, but I'd like people to get here. Otherwise, I'll just start with no one. But that's why I'm singing Smashing Pumpkins. Live now if you want to join. I shouldn't really have dead air like this, like waiting for people, but you know. Excuse me. I mean, I should just fill the time, I suppose. Well, no one's here. Believe, believe in me. Believe. I'm getting my notes. That life can change, that you're not stuck getting by. We're not the same, we're different tonight. Tonight, so bright. I'm getting my notes. Oh, we've got one person. It's my Norwegian friend. Hello, Denise. Nice. Oh, I have to sign in to chat. Whatever that means. Tonight, my chat is here. Do. And Denise is here, and no one else right now. So we'll wait a minute and I'll pull up my notes while we wait. Documents, progression, something here. Progressions are really, really interesting. It's one of my favorite techniques to use. It really is. And it's a powerful technique because you can tell a lot about someone's life. Like, you know, you can do a rundown of, you know, the whole of someone's life and you can learn a whole lot. Blah, blah, blah. Idiots saying things. Sorry, idiots. I shouldn't talk about idiots. Anyway. People are saying nonsense. This weirdo on Facebook started, and I'm sorry I couldn't put any makeup on. I was busy working on stuff right until I got on. So I look hideous. This is me with no makeup or anything. So, anyway. But, I guess we'll get right into it. We'll get right into the discussion about progressions. The problems with progressions. There aren't really any problems with it. I just thought that sounded funny. Let me pull up. Let me pull up my pull-ups. Pull up. I'm doing a pull-up. There we go. Secondary progressions. So anyway, I mean, I was going to give it a couple minutes, but whatever. I guess it doesn't matter. Oh, I guess I'm 3 people. That's so. Oh, wait, no. I want to leave that there. And I want to move this. What the heck? There we go. Sorry. I'm getting used to this stuff. No. Don't show my whole thing. That's no good. There we go. I don't know. I guess that works. So, I guess we'll just start talking about progressions then. But, I mean, really quick, since this is being recorded, I did want to address something because I think it would, and because this is supposed to be a happy discussion and this is supposed to be fun. So I want to get this out of the way because I think I just need to say something and have it recorded for posterity. But there was a terrible shooting, a school shooting. And I just did a whole thing yesterday about school shootings in astrology. And it was a trans man who shot up a school. And regardless of whoever anyone is, anyone who harms a child is disgusting. It's an evil thing. The first thing in my mind with this, I'm a parent. I have a 9-year-old daughter. She's the same age as those other children that lost their lives yesterday. I can't think of any other nightmare worse than that for me. I can't even imagine. And regardless of who they are, my heart goes out to the parents and anyone else affected, you know. Not that I'm anyone to care about, but I just want to have this for posterity's sake, you know. Because I also am aware that a lot of people are going to blame trans people in general for this incident. And that's also disgusting. And that's also evil. Any sort of separative thinking is evil, ultimately. But just in terms of statistics, in over 300 mass shootings over the past several years, or I guess since 2009, 4 have been assigned to either transgender or non-binary people. So that's less than 2%. So if somehow a trans identity is going to be the cause of violence, it sure seems like it's dwarfed compared to other identities. Cisgendered people kill far more. Should we go after them? We can find lots of incidents of hatred, you know, and white supremacy and conservatism too, with school shootings. So it's a big problem when people start using incidents like this to focus on a particular group, one that is completely underrepresented in politics. So I just want everyone to be aware and careful about that, because it doesn't matter who someone is necessarily. It matters what they do and the results of that. And their motives do matter, of course. Because at the end of the day, what do we have but our motives, you know? In fact, in occult traditions, in esoteric traditions, motive is paramount. It's the number one thing. Why are you doing what you do? And being aware of your motive, regardless of what it is. We're all selfish, ridiculous people. We all do terrible things. We all have terrible thoughts and terrible feelings, you know, and think terrible things about people. But as long as we're honest with ourselves about it, that's something. At the end of the day, the worst thing you can do is, God, I said at the end of the day twice. What day is it? Monday, Tuesday? You know, how many days do they have to end? But really, it's only one day, isn't it? Anyway, I lost my train of thought, as I typically do, but I just think that's important. In occult traditions, separation is the ultimate sin. And we're tasked with self-knowledge, with learning to recognize the motivating factor. And that's why being honest about our motive is so important. Because where our attention goes, there we go. As Christ said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Right? What does that mean? It means how we are on the inside determines our expression on the outside. So be aware of our being, because that's what we're concerned with all this nonsense. I keep getting white noise. Our being is what matters. Being ultimately matters. Being at all cost. We mentioned that that Sartre quote. Oh my God, it's the doctor's office. At this hour? Why don't you call me at a reasonable hour? Holy smokes. Goodness gracious. Well, sorry, doctors. I can't answer right now. It's not possible. Oh, and then people are probably saying hi. So Tina, hello. And we're not going to talk about any more unfortunate stuff, okay? It's all going to be happy, happy. Well, actually, there's going to be some, difficult topics because we're talking about astrology, which encompasses human lives, and human lives aren't always hunky-dory, are they? Tina, it's wonderful to see you. Lydia, I'm sorry, I have food behind me. You see a kitty? Yes, I do have a kitty. I got two kitties. Where did they go? Their names are Castor and Pollux. Oh, hi, there's Pollux. Hi, baby. Anyway, Pollux is super fat. So let me pull up my notes. And I'll put the chat here for now. So, because I'm going to be talking about things. And then I'll pull up charts as we go through it. We're going to pull up a chart right now. We're going to pull up, no, not you. We're going to open John F. Kennedy. Search all files for Kennedy. John, no, not junior. I want the senior. Open. No, opened every chart. Oh my God. Why did it do that? It opened every chart. That was redonkulous. Why did it do that? SolarFire is terrible. Well, I mean, it's the best software apparently, but oh my God, what was that? I mean, you had to have seen that. I wasn't imagining things. Open Sesame, you donkey. Holy smokes. Well, there's our, 35th president, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And so we'll start talking about progressions. I'm going to show you my notes for a second, but I thought this was, well, maybe I shouldn't show you my notes because there's other stuff here and I don't want to close it. So here's my notes, really briefly. So I liked this quote from the Tao Te Ching. There's a time for being ahead, a time for being behind, a time for being in motion, a time for being at rest, a time for being vigorous, a time for being exhausted, a time for being in danger. That's Lao Tzu from the Tao Te Ching. I thought it was an apt quote when talking about progressions because this is a timing technique. And it's quite interesting because you can use this technique to basically map out the big events of someone's entire life. Now, I've had many, many clients I've done this with. And if anyone ever wants to get a reading and they really want their progressions done, all you have to do is ask. Because typically natal and transits can take up a whole reading because there's so much to say. Why is this like this? Maybe this should be like that. Yeah. And this should be like that. I mean, I don't know where I stop and where I begin. Maybe that's like a philosophical thing. Right? We could talk about being in terms of that. Anyway, but progressions, and let me take away my notes because I don't want you to see what I'm talking about. I want you to listen. Because it's a lot more interesting. So, now what are timing techniques? Well, astrology is about timing because what? Because we live in the fourth dimension, don't we? Which is time. It's sort of like a higher dimension of space, isn't it? Because, we say, I'm going to meet you there, right? At point A, but then you can go and then I won't be there. Why? Because another dimension there was when. So I'll meet you at point A at time B, right? Those are the coordinates in time and space. And so thus time is referred to as the fourth dimension. But let's think about that for a second because time, what is time? And people in the New Age circuit and spiritual traditions always say, there's only one moment right now, right? But what does that mean? What about the linear progression of time? Well, think about that. Everything's just moving as it is. There are repetitive cycles. What we call progressive time is a figment of our senses. Let me explain. Each passing moment is an apparent change because of a successive brain state. The experience of passing moments is the sequential registering of another brain state, of states of consciousness. Just very mundane, moving on. Our senses are moving through space. We're not moving, time isn't moving us. Our senses are moving through space. That's more of an accurate way. And there's a wonderful book about this everyone should read by a man by the name of Maurice Nicoll. He was a disciple of Gurdjieff, and he was actually Carl Jung's protege. He was supposed to take over Carl Jung's practice, but instead he decided to become an esoteric student, and he wrote loads of material on the Gospels and the esoteric significance of the Bible at large, not just the Gospels, but the other books as well. So I'm mentioning this because timing is a big thing in astrology. And there are apparently references in the Bible to this principle we're going to talk about. Some claim it refers to progressions, but so anyway, timing techniques help us to map things out in time and space, when events may happen. It's not all philosophical about time, but we can sort of follow cycles because every movement the planets make is already mapped out. It's already written in the stars. We can look at the Venus cycle and how it traces a 5-pointed star or a flower, whatever you want to call it. We always said it would, well, in occult traditions, we saw it as a 5-pointed star. And a 5-pointed star is a symbol for Venus, an esoteric symbol for Venus. And we see this glorious pattern it traces in time and space, don't we? But we have to map it out because that's an event. It's a whole event in and of itself. But we see it sequentially over 8 years, don't we? We see it unfold in time and space. So that's our frame of reference. And therefore, we're going to use astrology as a personal tool sometimes, or, a greater tool in terms of mundane astrology or looking at world events. But using it as a tool, nevertheless, to establish when things may happen, right? Otherwise, what good is it? Well, yeah, something's going to happen. Well, something always happens at some point, doesn't it? But when is sort of a big deal. Even though we can sort of philosophically, muse about time in many ways. So. Well, what are progressions? They are a symbolic timing technique. In fact, as far as timing techniques go, they're probably the second most popular. I got that from Kelly Surtees, who's, someone who's very, very into progressions. She's a wonderful astrologer, often on the Astrology Podcast with Chris Brennan. So, now timing, as we talked about, it has to do with when events happen. But there are real-time, right? Real-time transits. That's a real-time timing technique that uses actual elapsed time. Whereas what we're going to talk about here are symbolic timing techniques. It's where, a certain duration is used to represent a wider duration or a wider scope, right? So some examples of this are progressions, which we'll talk about in a minute. Annual profections, which we'll have to do a whole nother thing on. Excuse me. Lime water. Annual profections, which are also somewhat of a symbolic timing technique. We take, you progress through the zodiac, or rather the houses in your birth chart, depending on the year, and then that house becomes representative of the general feeling or timbre, if you will, the general quality of that entire year. Another one is zodiacal releasing. We symbolically release one of the Arabic lots, and it sort of moves at whatever rate, yeah? And then those indicate other big events in our lives, right? Different periods. Now, there's also solar returns, right? People use solar return charts. That's a chart for your particular birthday of a given year. And astrologers use that to determine the events or the quality of the upcoming year. So, but in terms of progressions, what do we do? Well, we take like the first 90 to 100 days of life, however long we think you're going to live, and each of those days becomes representative of that corresponding year of life, right? Let me explain. When you were born, you were 0 years old. That day, the first day you were alive, becomes representative of the first year you were alive. So what does that mean? It means that everything is slowed down, right? Because we're stretching that out. We're taking the transits from that day you took your first breath, and we're stretching them out over that whole year. What else does that imply? Well, as you know about the typical movement of the sun through the zodiac, it moves about 1 degree a day. And the moon moves about 1 degree an hour. But we're saying a day equals a year here. So that means that the progressed sun will move 1 degree a year. And the progressed moon will move about 1 degree a month. The other planets' rates of movement are also slowed down at variable speeds, proportional, right? I don't know what those are directly, but you can probably look them up. But that's sort of not important right now. So anyway, each day becomes representative of the corresponding year. Progressions are a bit different than transits. Because they move so much slower, they sort of indicate subjective changes in our lives that are often precipitated by big life-changing events, right? I mean, that's typically what makes us different, is things happen to us. So you'll see certain progressions typically when I do this with clients correlate with big life events, but sometimes either people can't remember or they just, they don't place it that way. But typically it works out. And hopefully we'll get to use some of your charts as examples. Let me see if anyone's asking any questions really quick about progressions. Oh, this is Carrie Lynn. If you feel like looking at my progressions, that would be cool. Yeah, we'll use you, Carrie Lynn. And we'll look at Lydia too. You both are the first. Lydia, thank you so much. I love you too. Yeah, and I don't do any BS. Yeah, I don't. Well, I wonder if anyone else is here, because this is a really important discussion about progressions. It's like a free, I almost said the F word, and I don't want to get in trouble with Facebook. I think I can say the F word once. It's a free fucking class, basically. All you got to do is go and like the stream. Please like the stream. Like the stream. I am, I'm a budding astrologer. I mean, I'm good at what I do, obviously, but I'm just small potatoes. And, I need help. So please help me. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. Right? So please like the stream. Subscribe to my channel, although already, I'm sure everyone here already has. But tell your friends, because please, this is good stuff and it's good information. And at least I'm not a boring person, right? There's tons of boring astrologers. They're all boring people, most of them. The other ones I just don't like because I hate on other astrologers. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. I just want you to please like the stream. And please check out my other links and things like that, which are, over in the comments or whatever. But yeah, we'll look at your charts. We'll look at your charts for the progressions. So anyway. Ugh, why does that have to show all my stuff? No, don't show my stuff. Don't show my stuff. So back to progressions. People claim that progressions are even in the Bible. So there's a principle when it comes to biblical scholarship, I guess, or biblical study that's called the year for a day principle. The idea is that when it comes to prophecy, a day equals a year. So there's a couple passages that people cite to describe this, but one of them is 1 from the book of Numbers. This is chapter 14, verse 34. The Israelites will wander 40 years in the wilderness, 1 year for every day spent by the spies in Canaan. So anyway, I mean, that's supposedly an indication of the day equals a year thing. And we see the number 40 happen a lot in the Old Testament, right? There's a lot of probably esoteric significance to that. Like 10 is the number of completion, and 4 is the number of manifestation, right? That's what a square is, the 4 square. It's, that's why another reason why squares are a difficult aspect. It's not easy to manifest things, is it? It's not easy to build something in physical substance, to make something actually happen rather than just talking about it. But again, that's a whole other thing. Well, let's talk about some of the history of progressions. So the first documented reference we have, and this was according to Kelly Surtees as well, the first documented reference we have of secondary progressions comes from Johannes Kepler, right? The famous scientist and mathematician and astronomer and astrologer. In fact, he was the one that came up with the minor aspects. I think they were called the Kepler aspects too. The things like the semi-sextile and the septile and novile and all these sorts of things. They're intervals in music, or that's where he came up with these ideas with the minor aspects, was like the harmonic aspects, sesquiquadrate and nonsense like that, the inconjunct or the quincunx. I used to use them all. I used to do all this stuff. I did it for many years. I streamlined, I simplified, because simplicity is elegance and it's beautiful. Beautiful. Well, anyway, but Chris Brennan sort of disagrees. He says that there's an earlier mention, although it's sort of indirect. I'm given to understand it's not necessarily a direct reference of secondary progressions, but it's implied, apparently, by Vettius Valens in the 2nd century CE. So if that is the case, that's quite interesting. But secondary progressions as a technique were popularized by Placidus de Titus. That's the Italian monk. What was it, 16th century? Was he 16th century? Anyway, the Italian monk who invented the Placidus house system, or at least he's credited with it. Some people disagree and say it was someone else who invented it. I think they say Ibn Ezra or something, but I'm sorry, I have to take a bite. I'm so hungry. I'm like the kid in high school that, crams for the test right before class. I should just know all this off the top of my head, but I had to make all these notes because ADHD. And if I don't have the notes, I'll start talking about a bunch of other stuff. And I'll jump on topics, from one to another, like frogs on a lily pad, or, butterflies and little flowers. Excuse me. I am sort of a butterfly, I gotta keep myself on task. What are you meowing about, cat? What's going on? Meow. 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 Just don't eat my food. Oh, please don't go after my food, honey. That's mine. That's mine. Anyway, this is Pollux, but he has nothing to do with progressions, except insofar as he's distracting me from talking about progressions. So anyway, it's sort of interesting. Some people claim that Placidus invented progressions, but no, he probably just popularized it. So, and we know Kepler, right, mentioned it directly. So how does it work, right? How does a day equal a year? How does a day... Chili, you son of a gun. I got so much foul stuff, because I do other stuff too, and so I have, not... I have naughty things around that I have to be careful of. But anyway, gosh, I lost my train of thought. How does a day when you're a baby equal a year when you're 80? You know, or an old lady. Sorry, I had to rhyme all the time, you know. Anyway, well, my answer to that, my philosophy about that is that we live in an interdependent and relativistic universe. As the Buddhists would tell us, what does that imply? It implies that everything is interconnected and everything is analogical to everything else. That's how divination works, in my opinion. That you could use anything as a representation of anything else. Think of the tarot. You know, people have this misunderstanding, like astrology causes things to happen. I'm sorry, but Jupiter didn't cause anything with you. You know, Mars didn't make you an asshole. Psychology did that. Mars just announces it. So, gosh. I wish I'd put makeup on, but... Ooh, I have my magic 8-ball. You see how I get distracted? I have to be careful here. This is terrible business. But I don't know, at least it keeps it kind of fun in my opinion. So, but then I lose my train of thought. So we live in an interdependent and relativistic universe. Everything is analogical to everything else. I mean, people read tea leaves. Ancient Mesopotamians, who invented astrology, it looks like, they also used to do, they used to cut lips out of animals and read those for prognostication or divination purposes. Excuse me. Anything can be used for divination. In fact, I always maintain you could use your own feces or vomit for divination, provided you knew how to read them. I just prefer astrology, you know, because we have thousands of years of history to draw on. I have some misfit on Facebook talking about how Indian astrology is older than Hellenistic. You don't think about it like that. It's so stupid to think about it like that. Because, I mean, they were all around the same time sharing things. There was syncretism, right? But the oldest Sanskrit text we have about astrology is called the Yavana Yataka. The name literally means nativity according to Greeks. I'm not saying that Greek astrology is any better or anything like that. I'm saying, right, that Vedic astrology is not older. There's no evidence of being older. Does my phone keep doing something? There's no evidence of it being older. And the Yavana Yataka dates back to the 2nd century CE, right? And the zodiac, as we know it, came about in around 450 BCE out of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. So I'm sorry for all of you that want to go like, oh, Vedic astrology's older. And the Greeks don't have a monopoly on it either. They got it from the Babylonians. Right? And we have evidence going, you know, we have a cuneiform tablet called the Mulapin from, I think it's about 1000 or 1200 BCE, which is, you know, the first sort of star catalog or proto-ephemeris, if we may. But enough about that history. Let's go back to progressions, because these are so much fun. So, we talked about divination. And the last thing I want to say about that, I mean, your tarot cards don't cause you to do things, do they? So, of course, Mars doesn't cause you to do things. We're using planets as omens, as signs. And this is what the primogenitors of astrology, what they implied as well. We have this tablet called the Diviner's Manual. Francesca Rochberg, a famous Assyriologist who all of us astrologers love because she writes about ancient Mesopotamian divination. But she cites this tablet called the Diviner's Manual from the Assyrian Empire. It says earth and sky are interconnected. I'm paraphrasing here. It says earth and sky are interconnected. That omens in the sky indicate events on earth. And vice versa. Events on earth indicate omens in the sky. So it was this relationship. And you could think about astrology as a study of relationships. Every aspect is a relationship. Everything is a relationship. Everything is interrelated. It's a very Gemini thing to say, but you feel me. Another thing I wanted to mention is this wonderful quote that to me summarizes interdependence. You know that there was a medieval poet who was both Muslim and Hindu named Kabir. He wrote a wonderful text called The Ocean of Love. Everyone should read it, but don't take it literally. You know, it's a symbolic story. It's a creation myth. It's reminiscent of Gnosticism, but it takes on a decidedly sort of Indian character. But Kabir's referred to the drop within the ocean and the ocean within the drop. You know, it's that old maxim about the microcosm within the macrocosm, but the macrocosm also within the microcosm, which is what the law of correspondence is, or of the law of analogy, which we could do a whole nother talk on. Oh my gosh. So, how do we use progressions though? What do we look for? We look for three main things. We look for progressed planets changing signs, which in whole sign houses also means they change houses. We look for planets stationing retrograde or direct, yeah. And we look for progressed lunations. That's full moons or new moons, right? And these are quite important. So, you know, your progressed sun moving a degree a year could probably, at the most, change 3 signs in your life. I mean, who knows how long you live? Who knows about what sort of things science is going through right now in terms of longevity? The progressed moon, though, moves a degree a month, right? So you will pass through a sign in 30 months, right? So it's almost like a 30-year cycle of the progressed moon to complete around through the zodiac. And then some people, well, we'll get into this in just a second. So the most important things we look for in terms of changing signs and houses are, you know, in any of the planets. But the real particularly interesting ones are the sun, moon, and the ascendant, your big 3. And they do progress. The ascendant progresses as well. Now, other big life events can be indicated by other planets changing signs, especially outer planets, which most of the outer planets, they don't even change signs in most people's lives. Excuse me. Or go retrograde or direct. Most people won't have progressed Saturn, progressed Pluto, well, I mean, even progressed Jupiter, let alone progressed Saturn or progressed Pluto or Neptune or Uranus. We'll never have those stationed retrograde or direct. Now, everyone should have progressed Mercury go retrograde or direct at least once. Most people will. And that's that's a particular event that happens in our lives. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But also, like we said, progressed lunations. Now, these also indicate big life events. I mean, sometimes we can do a biwheel and look at how progressed planets are aspect exact, right? Exact aspects. So, but those are quite interesting. I mean, I have my progressed my progressed sun approaching my natal Venus. You know, I mean, over the next 10 years, like it's within orb now if it were transits, but it's really a useless thing to look at until it's exact. So, ooh, no, my ball. I'm sorry. I don't want this to get hurt. This is my fun squishy thing. Actually, it's my daughter's, but I always end up playing with her fidget toys after she just abandons them, you know? So, anyway, progressed planets changing signs we talked about. We talked about stationing direct and retrograde, and we talked about lunations. Now, the lunations, you'll probably only have 3 in your lifetime because you think about what we have. Well, we have a full moon and a new moon every month. So you'll have maybe 3 progressed full moons and probably 3 progressed new moons throughout your life, right? Possibly. That's at the most. Some people only have 2. So, so anyway, if you're lucky to live that long, well, I don't know. Long John Silver in that old movie said, "Them's that die be the lucky ones," right? So, anyway, that sounded gross. I hate that voice. Well, let's see if anyone's saying anything. Then we'll show examples, or we'll get to specific things about that. Is anyone saying anything? You have progressed Saturn retrograde conjunct ascendant with Juno. Yeah, actually, my progressed Saturn went direct. I was born with it retrograde. It went direct last year in August, right around the time I found out my ex-wife was moving to Colorado with our daughter. And so it really was. And I had to quit a job. I announced to my boss that I was quitting my job of 20 years, right? And when we're born with Saturn retrograde, we confine ourselves, right, in this little prison and with these preconceived notions about how we should live. And then when progressed Saturn goes direct, all of a sudden we're out of our box. I forget which astrologer mentioned this, but I did hear this on the astrology podcast that Gordon Ramsay, who's one of my heroes, Chef Gordon Ramsay. I don't typically like older men, but I mean, you know, let's just say he could do what he wanted to me. I know he wouldn't, and he's married, and but he's a very interesting man, right? He has Pluto square his ascendant like I do. And, that's people who have power or who have a sense of power or an awareness or sometimes problems with power, right? But those of us who are constructive with it or who sort of learn how to not be a-holes, like Ramsay, we can use that for good. Like if you watched Kitchen Nightmares, he would tear people down, right? He'd tear them apart. But then he'd build them back up. He'd even cry with them. He's a Scorpio. But anyway, the story goes that his progressed Saturn went direct around the time he started cooking. Because Gordon Ramsay, he was going to be a football star. And by football, I mean soccer. But everyone else in the entire world calls it football. So, so anyway, he was supposed to be a professional football player or soccer player, whatever you want to call it. And he ended up getting injured, getting just a terrible injury. And he sort of he had to give up that dream. But then he ended up working for a really good chef. And he ended up being an effing boss, right? A hecking boss. I don't know. I can only say the F word a couple of times. It's like an R-rated movie, Like you could say it two or three times or whatever, but then you just have to say shit the rest of the time. And even then, you have to be careful how many times you say it. So, yeah, you love Gordon too? Oh my God, I love Gordon. I mean, I prefer women, but gosh, Gordon, Well, hi, Kat. Don't get up. You're fine. Just lay on my pillow. You're cool. I don't even know if we can see him from this angle. Can we see him? You can't see him, but I'll drag. Wait, no, you can't. You can't see him, but he's laying on my pillow over there. Oh, wait, you can see him. Right? There he is. He's behind this computer. So, okay. But I got to stop getting sidetracked because. Anyway, Gordon Ramsay, he also almost died when his Pluto, his progressed Pluto, went retrograde. Stationed retrograde. I'm not saying it's going to happen to everyone, but my progressed Pluto stations direct in 2028. So I hope I'm still alive because I have tons of Pluto stuff going on. But we'll look at some of your charts for examples in just a moment. I want to talk about JFK really quick as an example. So, for example, I sound redundant, don't I? So the progressed sun. Now, when our sun progresses into a new sign, It's sort of like we put on the overcoat of that sign, right? Our personality, our persona, our focus, they sort of change in line with that sign. For example, my progressed sun went into Cancer right before my daughter was born, and I've been a mommy ever since, a Cancer mommy. And you can sort of see I've taken on, it's unconscious, you don't consciously do it, but we take on certain characteristics of that sign, and I'm sort of decidedly Cancerian in many ways. So I got to stop saying When you take Toastmasters or whatever, they always ding you for the. And I always say, so anyway. I got to stop doing that. It's better to pause, isn't it, than saying, so anyway. What are those called again? They're called, what are those called? Interjections. 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 So that's an interjection. Let's talk about an example. Well, right, we talked about me, but how about JFK? Well, John F. Kennedy's progressed sun entered Cancer in August of 1940. He joined the Navy, just after that. In 1941, I'm sorry. Now, that's the thing about these transits, right? They go very, well, the progressed movements, they go slow and they take a long time often. But it's around the time he entered the Navy, which would lead to one of the biggest events of his life, which was the PT-109 incident, where that's when he was, captain or the lead officer of this, patrol boat, PT-109, and they got struck, I believe, with a torpedo. And in a heroic act, he actually did save some people. And, John F. Kennedy, he dealt with some terrible, debilitating diseases. He had Addison's disease, which is a disease of the adrenal glands. I got checked for that when I was going through all my people trying to determine me having POTS, And with Addison's disease, and he also had terrible back problems. So he was in constant pain. So that was a lot for him, And that's part of what helped him get elected as president. As a congressman before that, was this story of heroism, which of course, may have been used quite a bit, but it's still a very harrowing event. Now, how about the progressed moon? The progressed moon, when it changes signs, we take on the emotional character of that new sign. To a certain extent. For example, my progressed moon's been going through Pisces. I've been a total wet blanket for, 30 months? Is that 30 months? Yeah. But we sort of get very emotional, and I've been quite emotional with a Pisces, thing going on. Well, think about it. 24 months is 2 years. So it's like 2.5 years, right? 30 months almost. 2.5 year cycle. Now, an example from our friend John F. Kennedy's experiences was his progressed moon went into Taurus when he started his term as president. And he was known for being steadfast, for sticking to things. In fact, one of the big things, that many of us theorize precipitated his assassination was the Bay of Pigs incident, right? Allen Dulles, who was in charge of the CIA, he had come up with the Bay of Pigs invasion when Eisenhower was president. Kennedy came in, and he wanted to keep the thing going. So Kennedy was against it. And Allen Dulles was like, well, I'm the director of Central Intelligence. I do what I want. F you. And so he ordered the invasion anyway. And then he assumed that Kennedy would have no choice but to give air support. Otherwise, he would be committing political suicide, right? I don't know if I can say that word. Can I say that word? I meant it in reference to political. Political S word. I don't know what I'm allowed to say and not say. So you would commit political S word with that. But no, he stuck to his guns. And he didn't order air support. And so this invasion of all these mercenary types was squashed right there on the beach. And a lot of them were either killed or taken prisoner. And to me, that's an example of him sticking to his guns. In fact, he said right after that that he would smash the CIA into 1,000 pieces, and he fired Allen Dulles as director of Central Intelligence. Now, there's plenty of evidence that indicates Allen Dulles was probably behind the assassination. And what's adds insult to injury was that he was placed as the head of the Warren Commission, which investigated the Kennedy assassination. So it's like the fox guarding the hen house, isn't it? Excuse me. But back to progressions. So now how about the progressed ascendant? This often takes us in new life directions. It causes new experiences that change our formative growth, right? So, gosh, I forgot mine. When did mine happen? It's not important, I guess. Well, JFK's progressed. This is what happened. My progressed ascendant went into Pisces in 2005. And this was happened right around the time I met my mentor and right around the time I got involved with Masonry. So that's very interesting. That's what, so you see the life direction thing, because that changed my whole life direction for the subsequent, I don't know, I've been a Mason for almost 17 years, So, excuse me. So these are big events. Now in JFK's example, his progressed ascendant went into Scorpio in 1930. And that's the same year his parents shipped him off to boarding school. And he ended up having an appendectomy at that same time and having to get shipped back. But you see how that was a formative event in his life. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. And that determined a lot of his character later. Now how about progressed lunations? Like I said, we have maybe 3 at the most progressed new moons or full moons in our lifetimes. But how about the progressed new moon? What is that like? Well, now progressed lunations often correlate with big life events. In particular, the first thing I always typically look at in a progressed chart is the progressed moon phase. And if there is a progressed lunation coming up or, having happened that we could look at. Because they're almost always very interesting. I've had maybe 2 clients where they couldn't think of anything around a progressed new moon or full moon. Now I say progressed moon phases are quite important because think about how slow the moon is moving, right? Why is this? This should be whole sign houses. And it's in Placidus. Let me change you. I'm going to change you. I'm going to edit this. Edit chart. I'm going to take it off of Placidus. I used to have this joke that Placidus was a mistake. There's the theory that when Placidus invented his house system, he did it accidentally. And he was really misreading Ptolemy's description of equal houses. So let's go to whole sign houses. And they always put it, no, not midheaven on the 10th. Ugh. Come on now. Where's whole sign now? Whole sign, you son of a gun. Wait, whole sign's fortune? What the hell does that mean? Whole signs, there we go, Jesus. Can I say Jesus? Okay. Now look at that. Our friend Kennedy Libra rising. Our friend Kennedy Libra rising. I didn't mean to do a little Irish accent there. And that was an interesting thing going on there too, because there was still rampant discrimination against the Irish. I mean, Joe Kennedy, his father, had a lot of money, but there was still rampant discrimination against the Irish. A lot of places would say no dogs are Irish allowed. Or, businesses would have a sign saying Irish need not apply. That was a typical thing. So they still had to deal with that. Now, what does this have to do with progressed lunations? Well, the progressed new moon oftentimes feels like starting back at square one. It's like a new beginning. Sometimes that's a traumatic new beginning. So, and again, I said we were going to talk about nice and fun things, but there's some difficult events, right? So, both of my progressed lunations, my progressed new moon and full moon, were eclipses. And so they were not fun. Around the time of my progressed new moon, I started a new job that I would be in for 20 years. And my dad committed suicide. He was a colonel in the United States Army and a Vietnam vet. And again, another reason why I think guns need to be controlled. There's people who are not well should probably get a second look at before they are allowed to have weapons. You feel me? So, but that's my personal opinion as a survivor of that nonsense. So, the progressed full moon then, which would have been a little bit later, that was 2018 for me, or 2016, sorry, coincided with my divorce and all that stuff. So these were big events in my life. Now, when my progressed full moon happened, I mean, I was at a bright spot, right? And we think of the progressed full moons as being like us at our brightest point. Yeah? Well, how does that correlate? Well, I had a house, I was married, I had a kid, I had a fence and a dog and a yard, But then it all came crashing down not soon after. So, but that was an eclipse. A lot of my clients have had very good experiences, had children sometimes at their progressed full moons. That's a big one, having children, getting married, right? Those sorts of big events. So what happened with our friend John F. Kennedy? Well, his progressed new moon was when he was 13, I believe, 1938. And his dad, Joseph Kennedy, got appointed by FDR as ambassador to the UK or to Britain, right? So that was a big deal. And they became like celebrities in Britain. Everyone loved the Kennedys in Britain until the war. By the war, I mean World War II. And what happened? Well, Joseph Kennedy was a fan of appeasement. That meant appeasing Hitler, right? He did not want another war. He was an isolationist. He didn't want the United States involved in a war. So he believed in giving Hitler what he wanted. He agreed with Neville Chamberlain, who was a British official who was known for his appeasement policy, right? Giving Hitler certain lands and allowing him to, I think it was taking Czechoslovakia or Poland or something like that. But that became very unpopular with the British people. They were not fans of the Third Reich. So Kennedy ended up resigning in 1940. And it was sort of a little bit of a disgraceful thing, but it did get him tons of connections, obviously, politically, right? And that would help later with young Jack Kennedy, young JFK, getting elected president. So, I mean, all this stuff was significant. And this was another formative event in his young life, right? So he saw all this stuff growing up, and he saw this, how to be a politician. And he saw the kind of pomp and circumstance that was involved in it. Now, the progressed full moon, like I said, typically a high point. Right? I had the picket fence and the house and the dog and all that. And it's the same sort of thing for our friend JFK. So his progressed full moon was July of 1953. And he got married just a couple months later in September of that same year. So, and if you look at the pictures of the wedding, they called it Camelot. That was like the bright, shining city on a hill, right? Everyone looked to the United States at that point, and especially the Kennedys, as sort of like the world aristocrats, right? As a shining beacon also for what it could be. Especially following Eisenhower and all that. Eisenhower leaving office warned everyone of the military-industrial complex. Why? Because he let it happen. because the Dulles brothers, John Foster Dulles, who was his Secretary of State, and Allen Dulles, who we talked about, who was Director of Central Intelligence, they got to direct American foreign policy and basically established this whole culture of causing wars and toppling governments for business interests. They established that culture, which carried on until now, right, with Iraq and Afghanistan. So the damage these men, and they got everyone hysterical about communism and socialism and, all this hatred for Medicare for all and stuff like that really can be traced back to the Dulles brothers. They're the ones who really started this Cold War nonsense and got it really violent. So anyway, but that's a whole nother story. It's relevant here as part of JFK's life, though, because that's a big reason of why he was probably assassinated. Now, how about stationing director retrograde? Well, I couldn't find any in JFK's chart. Mercury even was retrograde just before he was born and had just stationed direct right before he was born. So, and he died when he was still quite young. So he didn't get an opportunity to see Mercury go retrograde in his lifetime. So I picked Abraham Lincoln as another person to look at. His Saturn stationed direct, or retrograde. His Saturn stationed retrograde, in 1838. This is when he gave his famous Lyceum address. And it basically solidified his reputation as a very skilled orator. In the address, he was basically talking about, how people who didn't respect the legal system were going to be, denigrating the United States and ruining the Constitution. And he basically asserted the fact that the rule of law and the Constitution were America's political religion. And he denounced people who had no regard for the law, which, if he could see the way society is now and how we have a blatant disregard for the law, I think he'd be quite disappointed. But that's a whole other thing. Now, why don't we look at some examples here from your stuff? I was talking about Kennedy and all this. Oh, you know what I should mention? We talked about moon phases last night with synodic cycles, for those of you who were here. But progressed moon phases are sort of a similar thing, but they encompass, sections of our lives. Because the moon stays in a sign for, 2.5 years. The lunar cycle, the progressed lunar cycle is 30 years, isn't it? Excuse me. Is 30 years. So, let's divide that up into 8. What's 30 divided by 8? It doesn't 32 divided by 8 is 4, right? 8 times 4 is 32. Yeah, 16 and 16 is 32. Right? So, wait. Yeah. 8 times 4 is 2. So if we divide it in 8s, those are sections of 4 months, right? So it's like quarters, right? Those are, sections of 4 years, rather. 4 years. So we can look at 4-year periods of our lives as sort of ruled by a certain moon phase or qualified by a certain moon phase, right? So we can talk about some of that stuff, but there's the crescent moon phase. There's the new moon phase, right, that we could be in. And that is the progressed new moon, which is sort of a big deal and correlates a bit with a big life event. But then, right, the progressed crescent moon is sort of starting to deal with that situation that's just emerged. And then the progressed first quarter moon is a very difficult time typically, right? It's sort of when we're trying to build things up. It's when we face opposition in our lives. Those 4 years are oftentimes where we struggle a little bit. And then the next 4 years after that's more the gibbous phase. And the gibbous phase is way more optimistic. We're looking ahead, right? It's sort of when we see the light going on and we see possibilities and we start having some excitement. Of course, difficult stuff happens. but we start looking ahead to a new vision. And then there's the progressed full moon, which is like the high point. And often what happens after a high point? Well, we have a fall. So the disseminating moon, the progressed disseminating moon, which is the next phase, the first phase on the waning cycle, let's say, so you could see our friend Kennedy here is probably a progressed gibbous, right? Or close to a progressed. He's a progressed first quarter. A progressed gibbous would be more here in Libra and approaching Sag. Approaching Sag-ish. So, and the disseminating moon is more of a critical time. It's sort of, where we start to, hopefully we apply the lessons we've learned, but often it's a bit more reflective. As we approach the last quarter, progressed, we start departing from what we did in the past. We start turning away, right? So for example, my progressed full moon, why don't I bring up my progressed chart? My progressed full moon, right, was sort of a high point, and then with the disseminating, it was the fallout, right, from divorce stuff that had to happen. And then I had to move out and I had to find a place, and for a while I lived with friends. And it was a very reflective time, what happened and everything else. But as I approached, right, as I've been approaching that first quarter, I'm turning away from the way things were before. Other relationships, a whole different way of experiencing myself and all that fun stuff. And then when we get to the next progress phase, that's the balsamic moon, which just means dark. And it's when we're really starting to, we've already grown dissatisfied with the past, but we're really starting to move on here. And then we get the new vision once again, or something big happens at the progressed new moon that sort of starts over a new phase in our lives. So now let's go to particular people's charts here. And I will close this and I will pull up your charts. And thank you for being patient. Thank you for being patient. Oh, we have Ashlyn. We'll do a bunch of these. Is Tina still here? Let me know if you have time. What's going on my progress chart? Sarah Painter. Let's look at Tina first. Tina. Oh, wait, no, Lydia was first. I'm sorry. Lydia was first. And we'll look at a couple big events. Now, it really helps. It really helps if you can type in the chat and tell me what happened if you're willing to share. Lydia. June 4th, 98. My daughter's June 9th. June 4th, 98, 4:36 a.m. Milwaukee. We don't say Milwaukee, we say Milwaukee. Milwaukee, like the Jabberwocky. Milwaukee, 4:36 a.m. Milwaukee. Hello, Wisconsin! I don't know why I always say that. I mean, I know why I always say that, but... Okay. Lydia! Can you see Lydia? I hope you can. Okay, good. Oh, let's go to progressed. We have to go to progressed. Progressed chart. Okay. Cool. Thank you, Lydia. Hi, Tina. Yes, we'll get to you next, Tina. And we'll try and be quite quick with these. Okay, so don't freak out. So Lydia's progressed sun is in Cancer. Well, let me look at what her chart originally said. So she's a Gemini. Is there anything retrograde in her chart? Anything retrograde? No. Her moon phase here is approaching a gibbous, the end of a last quarter. We can see that. Oops, I better show you. You see You can sort of eyeball the moon phase about, a gibbous is a little bit more than a trine. So she's the end, I suppose, of a first quarter, end-ish. And do we see anything else retrograde? I mean, we see Pluto that may or may not ever go that may or may not ever go direct. But we'll take a look. And let's animate this. Amination. Why doesn't this you mother... Sorry. I didn't mean to make that ugly sound. It's just that this doesn't go to full screen right now, and it typically does. So, well, it looks like you had a progressed new moon not too long ago, because your progressed moon phase right now is, it's a progressed crescent. Why does it keep doing that? I think it's because my phone's plugged in here. Progressed crescent, right? You're approaching a progressed first quarter. So that means you're you're just starting to deal with the fallout of whatever happened at this progressed new moon. And let's go there and let's see. So your progressed new moon was 2018, it looks like. So February-ish of 2018. Now, that whole year of 2018 was probably pretty significant. Something may have happened leading up to it as well. So maybe late 2017. Because you see, these things are sort of, it's like think of the new moon. We think of that as sort of a big event within its little time and space. And this progressed new moon, this is a life-changing event most likely. So did anything particular happen here? And then I'm sure it'll take you a little bit to answer, so I'll move on to some other stuff. But that's an important thing. That progressed lunation was the first thing I noticed. What else here? So progressed Pluto's retrograde. Let's just see if progressed Pluto goes direct. I'm going to fast forward by 10 years at a time. 10 years at a time, time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch. Oh, you were 10 years old in 2018, right? No. You were 20 years old. Yeah. Right? Yeah. 20 years old? Yeah, you were 20 years old. Sorry, I'm bad at arithmetic. Excuse me. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after time. Well, maybe you'll live this long. I don't know. Let's see exactly what year. Well, there he's stationing. 2072. Well, I don't know if you live that long, but see, that's a very typical case. I'll look at clients like, does your progressed Jupiter ever go direct? Because it's retrograde. A lot of times it goes direct in 100 years or something like that, or 150 years. It's just the way progressions work. Now, let's go back in time a little bit more, and then we'll move on to someone else, because these are all quite interesting, and I don't want anyone to get left behind like the stupid Christian book series, like the Rapture. This is Rapture enough, Oh, that's 2021. Excuse me. Did any planets change signs at any point? Well, what's your moon again? Your moon's Libra. So your progressed moon. Oh, excuse me. Wait, has anyone said anything? You met a lot of new people in 2018. Well, maybe that was significant for you. I don't know. I mean, I meet a lot of new people all the time. But, well, maybe that's significant for you. I don't know. Maybe it's not significant for you. Oh, wait. Saturn. This is a big one. This is a big one. This is a big one. Saturn doesn't typically change signs. Saturn doesn't typically change signs, does he? No, he doesn't. So when did this happen? When did this happen? Wait, you were born... Oh, gosh. I mean, this was when you were very young. Very, very, very young. Oh. So this was 2003, and you were born in 1998. So what are you, 5 years old? Oh, you know it was? Oh, okay, cool. So, well, good, because I don't want to just say nonsense. I mean, if I'm wrong about something, I'm wrong, you know? Like, sorry, Frankie, that wasn't significant. So, Empress Adele, mother of John. That's so funny. Gemini. Yes, I'm a Gemini, you know. I know LMAO, 5 years old, but you see, I had my progressed Mercury go direct when I was 4, right? And that precipitated one of the most important events in my life. When I was 4, I had an experience that propelled me on this way. I had an experience about consciousness. And I think I've told this story before, and I won't because I got to get to your charts, but suffice it to say, I've been chasing that experience ever since, but I've had to let it go. But I lost all sense of self and not self. I was me and not me. I was part of everything. Everything was alive. Everything was breathing. And I was here. That's the only thing I could say as a 4-year-old kid to describe it. All I could say was, I'm here. I'm here. And it was just the magic of existence. And it was so amazing. I ran to my mom and I said, Mom, I'm here. And she said, that's great, Frankie. Excuse me, but it was very profound for me. So, well, Ashlyn will have to look at yours too. But you see, these transits when we're very young can still have big, important effects. So, so anyway, well, yeah, you've had experiences too, Empress Adele and Ashlyn. You know, so you can relate to that. And a lot of times that sort of propels us on our way, doesn't it? You think it was 2003 when the Catholic Church had all the problems with priests being predatory or something, but after age 6, life was different. You were raised Catholic. I was raised Catholic too, you know, and that was a big thing when all that went down. So, but I was raised very, very Catholic. I quote scripture like the devil. So don't twist my arm because everything's related to a Bible story for me. Even though the whole book is just sort of a stitched together like Frankenstein's monster. And people, you know, pretend like it was written by God when it was written by many, many different people in many, many different contexts. And there's even ancient Mesopotamian stories that are adapted to it. So, and if you live your life by the morality of the Bible, let me tell you, there's some, you know, I mean, they talk about unliving minors and children all over the place. They talk about all sorts of disgusting, violent things. So, anyway, you know, smashing children on rocks. I mean, the things that God tells the Israelites to do to the Canaanites is absolutely disgusting. He advocates the R word, right? S word assault and murder and all sorts of other nefarious things. So, you stopped going to church. Anyway, I'm not trying to get on a whole political rant about religion. I can do that some other time. We're talking about progressions here. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff sort of makes sense. So, any other big progression stuff I want to watch? People love to cherry pick. I know they do. People do love to cherry pick. And you can't have a legitimate theory that dismisses other evidence. It doesn't work. If you have other evidence that calls your theory into question, you have to explain it. Or be able to explain it with other evidence. You see? People can't just make silly statements like some astrologers do. I'll still make silly statements though. What else was happening here? So Saturn changing signs is a big deal. Anything else? Retrograde or direct progress lunations? Oh, the ascendant. The progress ascendant change? No. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, this is today. But your progressed ascendant is going to change in the next few years. You see? Let's go ahead a couple years. Well, that's... Okay. So we're talking 2028-ish. Which in the scheme of things, that's not too far. You know? No, 2027. We start here in at the end of August. Well, yeah, we'll say August 2027. This will be a big time for you. And Uranus will be in Gemini still. And Saturn and Neptune will be in Aries. So this will be a challenging time for people worldwide. But it could also be a wonderful time for you because once your progressed ascendant changes signs, it usually indicates a whole new life direction, you know, which is pretty amazing, and it can be very auspicious. So I guess let's look at a progressed full moon. Oh wait, do you even have one yet? You're so young, my darling. You're so young. I mean, not that young, but we are young. Heartache to heartache we stand. No promises, no demands. Love is a battlefield. We are young. So progressed new moon was 2018. Oh, your progressed full moon was too long ago. It was too long ago. 2004. So, but you'll have other ones in your lifetime, other interesting ones. So, you know, this is like 2003, 2004. Right? So, 2004. But you see how these events happened one right after the other. Saturn had just gone into Taurus. So this was whole, you know, I mean, it looks like a very significant time. You were quite young, so I don't know if you recognize the significance, but there it is. So, yawning is contagious. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry. Let's see. We did Lydia. Let's do Tina. Let's do Tina. 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 Thriller. Thriller. 82, around the time I was born. And the wind-up toys rolled out. They were muffling the sound of a life lived underground. And the embers never fade in my city by the lake, the place where I was born. Believe, believe in me, believe, believe. I was a big I'm still a big Smashing Pumpkins fan. He seems like he's sort of an a-hole, doesn't he? Billy Corgan, or William Patrick Corgan as he goes by now. So I'm just checking to see if anything's retrograde. Nothing interesting is. I don't care about Chiron. I don't care about the nodes. We're looking, like I said, for three things: planets changing signs, going retrograde or direct, and then progressed lunations or progressed moon phases, right? So you were born with, I guess this is a disseminating moon, right? Yeah. A disseminating moon, the end of a disseminating moon approaching the last quarter. So you're more of one of the critiquers. Oh, at 1983. Wait. Why does it say 1983? Aren't you 1982? The fudge. Did I mistype? God darn it. 1983. It's supposed to be 1982. It's like, oh, that's the same year I was born. I think I just pressed the wrong key. And the wind-up toys rolled down. They were muffling the sound of a life lived underground. Believe in Tina. She's a Sag rising. Nothing retrograde, right? Nothing interesting retrograde. Her progressed moon phase is something different here now. It's approaching a progressed gibbous. So, the end of a first quarter. So the first quarter too, it's like, facing opposite. It's hard work. Things are hard, but you're probably still a bit optimistic and, or at least have a vision of where you want to go. You have lots of ideas, right? So let's look at progressions. Progressions. 1982. So there should be a bit there should be a bit more to look at here. I'm just seeing what planets are where. So Scorpio, Sun, Venus, Jupiter, Sag, Mars. So Mars has probably definitely changed signs. Maybe definitely. That's such a Gemini thing to say. Maybe definitely. Your progressed Sun has probably changed signs. Your progressed ascendant may have changed signs. Progressed moon, we'll see that. Then we'll see if anything's retrograde. Gosh, my tummy's rumbly. I got a rumbly tumbly. So, progressed Mars. So your progressed Sun is in Sag. Wonder when that happened. Let's see all this. And what's your progressed moon phase? Well, let's go to that first, because that'll probably be quite interesting. The progressed new moon. The progressed new moon. 9 degrees. 9 degrees. 8 degrees. 8 degrees. So we're talking 2017-ish. Like April, March 2017. So I wonder if 2017 was a particularly pivotal year. The thing about these with progressions is you can't always tell the quality of the event. It's like even the essential dignities don't really work the way we expect them to. Nor retrogrades or direct. Like, we talked about Gordon Ramsay with his progressed Pluto going retrograde and him almost dying. When Vladimir Putin's went retrograde by progression, he took power. He became the Russian president or whatever. President or prime minister. They have a president and a prime minister. I think it's the Russian president that he became. So he became one of the most powerful people, in his country. So it's not always the way you expect it to turn out. Although the themes of the planets sort of do keep, right? Like Pluto does have to deal with power and all that sort of stuff. So what else do we have here? Do we have... Well, progressed Venus changed signs at some point. Is anyone retrograde here? Is anyone retrograde here? Let's see. Does anyone go retrograde? Does Mercury go retrograde? Let's go back a little bit. Let's go back. What we're going to do now is go back. Go way back. And it goes a little something like this. Hit it. I forget what that's from. It was an old rap song. How far are we going back? Way back. So your progressed Sun went into Sag in 2008. In fact, November of 2008, right around the time we were having the stock market crash. So this is quite interesting. I wonder what happened here. Are you even here, Tina? Are you still here? Or am I just like, oh, wait, I gotta scroll down. Oh, you heard the Pumpkins are touring? Loaded 12th mean anything? Well, I'm looking at the progressions. So we're not gonna go, because otherwise I could spend all day, 2017, you were going through a lot. Single mom taking care of your mom during chemo. Yeah, it's a big deal. That's a big deal. I'm so sorry. Your father moved across country and you realized some things that you needed to heal. Yeah, that sounds like pretty big, doesn't it? So, now your progressed son around 2008, I wonder if that was a big deal. Fall of 2008. And let's see what else we can find here. So now we're going way back. This is when I graduated high school. Excuse me. You were probably already out of high school. Excuse me, gosh. We're talking 2001, fall 2001. If you do this on your own later for family and friends, would it be beneficial to produce an ephemeris for the year? This, Ashley, I love you for mentioning this because I forgot to mention this. You are exactly right. This is the best thing any of you can do. I moved here, and I still my ephemeris is still packed in a box. It's so embarrassing. But yeah, uh, excuse me. If you're interested in astrology, get an ephemeris. Um, ephemeris midnight version. This one, the American Ephemeris 1950 to 2050. This is what I have. It's the one I recommend. The American Ephemeris 1950 to 2050, starting at midnight. It's what's called a midnight version. So it's what I prefer. So yeah, I mean, if you're interested in astrology, I suggest everyone get an ephemeris. Oh, and here's our moon phases for fun too. And these are approximate. Oh, you're so excited to get one of those? Yeah, because when you know what, I'll do a whole video about reading an ephemeris because this is important. It's it's almost like looking at sports stats or something, that people flip through. I was a comic book nerd. I used to collect comic books and comic book cards when I was a kid. And we had this thing called Wizard, right? That showed all the values of all these things you would go through. And there was also like for kids who were I wasn't into sports. I was kind of into basketball and soccer, but like the kids who were baseball fans, they had this thing called the Beckett, right? About sports cards. And so you would go down and look at all the values. Well, the way an ephemeris is set up, and this is another important thing we can talk about, the way an ephemeris is set up, ephemeris is sort of, let's look at a picture here. It's like this. Oh, it says not secure. That's no good. I should go to images. 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 I just want to look at the image. I just want to look at the image. I don't want to go to the website. I want to look at the image, you foul being. Open image. I just want to see the image. So this is a good representation. So you'll see the month. You'll see the day here, right? I mean, it says sidereal time or whatever. But then this is the planets across the top, right? Where's this? Yeah. And you'll see the planets across the top, and then you'll see the degrees as they progress. And then you'll see when they change signs. So see this sun here was in Virgo on Sunday. And then we go through, this is the 8th, right? Or sorry, this is 8 degrees, 9, right? And then the sun goes into Libra here, right? On Sunday, is that Sunday or Saturday? Oh, this was Saturday. So that's Saturday. This is Sunday. Sunday, the 23rd of September. You see? Almanac. I mean, I guess almanac. It's not really for astrology, but this is like an almanac. You're right. I mean, it's like an almanac. I mean, there was Poor Richard's Almanac and other things that had astrology in them. I mean, yeah, you're right, actually. That's true. That's right. Well, let's go back to charts. 2008, you were married, stay-at-home mom, looking to buy a home, one of the calmer times in your life. Well, it sounds like maybe that was also an important time. So then here's 2001. Was 2001 interesting at all, Miss Tina? Miss Tina? And then we'll move on to the next one. Sorry, my tummy's rumbly. I'll let Tina answer, and I'll move on to another chart. Just because I want to make sure we get people at least a couple aspects. I want to try and get to everyone if I can. People always get so mad when I don't get to them. Or get so sad, not mad really, but Ashley Dowd. July 2nd, 1987. Around the time my brother was born. 4:28 a.m. Rochester, New York. So hopefully this is right. So I'm looking for some retrogrades. We have Saturn retrograde. We have Uranus retrograde. We have Pluto retrograde. We have Mercury retrograde. All fun stuff. Your moon phase from birth it looks like a crescent, right? It's got a sense of naivety, but it's just sort of starting to recognize that things aren't really going its way. I mean, it's starting to face the realities of things, whereas the new moon is just it's got a lot of innocence. And the crescent, excuse me, is just starting to, have that innocence taken out of it. So, let's look at the progressed chart here. And I'm not doing bi-wheels, you might wonder, because a lot of times I would put the progressed chart in a bi-wheel around the the natal chart, but for some reason when I do that on Solar Fire, it just goes wacky. And I don't know why. Maybe someone can tell me at some point. Someone who's better at this than I am. So progressed chart. We said Mercury was retrograde. Saturn's still retrograde. Pluto went direct though, huh? Pluto is retrograde in your chart, right? Yeah, Pluto's retrograde. So when did Pluto go direct, my love? What year were you born? 87. Pluto. Watch, it's gonna be like when you were born or some stuff, or like, oh, when you were 2. Pluto went direct. Let's go back some months, because this will be interesting. What can you tell me, my darling, about 2003 for you? I imagine that was a pretty big time. No? 2003? There were things in your Placidus chart that never made sense to you, but when you looked at... Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, Tina, you're welcome. Ashley, that's interesting. I feel that. Um, 2001, you visited Florida, Tina, and broke things off from the man you were married to. Well, yeah, that's a pretty big deal, isn't it? You know. So, okay, Ashley, did anything big happen with you? Like, what was 2003? Obviously, you didn't die, you know. You're welcome, Tina. Thank you so much. You're chill, Sarah. You're trying to learn as well. I know. I'm just, I don't like upsetting people. It's my Libra moon, you know. But it doesn't help if I get all bitchy about it either. So I'll still be bitchy. I'm a terrible bitch. I know it. You were in high school in 2003, and you met your son's father then. It was a very abusive relationship. That's very Plutonian, isn't it? That is quite Plutonian. Now let's look at this. Let's go a little ahead here. Let's look at this progressed new moon. Okay. Okay. I don't know why I have to. I don't know why I have to be goofy all the time by this stuff. It's just. Excuse me, I'm compelled to. I blame my fifth house sun and Mars. Sun and Mars in Gemini. You're going to have a fifth house in Gemini. That's practical jokes and prank calls and nonsense. And prank calls are one of my favorite things in the world. Without prank calls, I think I would just disintegrate into dust. Prank calls are the spice of life, you know. You love that I'm goofy. Well, at least you do. You know, there's one person that I get a vote of confidence from. So anyway, this was 2010. I mean, at the very end of December, so we could say 2011, really. So 2010, 2011 for my darling here, Ashley. Did something big happen there? Ashley. 2010, 2011. You're also a crazy person. Well, if you like me, you probably are. So, you know, only other crazy people like me, typically. It's the sane people I have to be suspicious of. Because they think they think they know what they're on about. Your daughter was born December 2010. That's pretty wild, isn't it? You know? Gemini, I know. I'm not trying to hide it. Gemini with a Libra moon and Aquarius rising. You know? So I'm pretty wackadoodle. Yeah, isn't that wild? Your daughter was born December of 2010. Let's look at some others. Doopa doopa doo. Doopa doopa wow. Oh, look at this. You're actually. No, this is in the future, right? But you're approaching in 2025 a progressed full moon. This is a big deal, you know? This is a big deal. Let's see. 16 degrees. 16 degrees. There we go. You know? July. August. July and August of 2025. That will be a big time, I'm pretty sure. That's pretty wild. So you just take a note of that. Now let's go back in time to see what things happened. That's 2021. I'm going back by years. Oh, we already talked about stationing retrograde. We talked about a progressed lunation. When did Venus... Okay, here we go. Let's talk about Venus real quick, because that's sort of interesting. You'll mark your calendar, yeah. Oh, goodness. Venus. So Venus went into Leo, progressed Venus, in 2015. Was 2015 significant for you at all? Especially around June-ish? Summer of 2015? I wonder if that was significant. Do. Okay, here we are. This was a progressed new moon. So this was 2010 also. Oh wait, didn't we just talk about that? Never mind. We just talked about that. I wanted to go to the next procrastination. You had your twins in April and got married in July. That's so wild, isn't it? Isn't that wild? Oh, wait. I'm so stupid. I really am stupid. Wait, did we already talk about this? New Moon 2010? Did we already talk about that? I feel like we did. I feel like we did. Because that is 2025. Yeah, I think we did talk about that. So let's go back this way. Well, first, let's talk about your progressed sun. So your progressed sun, let's see, 2008 looks like. 2008. Progressed sun went into Leo in 2008. So what big happened in 2008? Yeah, it was December of 2010. We already talked about that, which was a big deal, right? So, excuse me. Now, let's look at something else, because this might be too long ago. Oh, wait, you were born. What year were you born, my sweet? Ashley. What year were you born again? Ashley. I'll just close it and reopen it. Ashley, what year were you born? 1987. Okay. I should remember that. I just don't want to go like before you were born, you know. Oh wait. What the with the fees? With the foos? With the figgity? I have to make up swear words now. So 1996. You know? So middle school? Was that middle school for you? No, elementary school. What, were you in 6th grade, 5th grade? 5th grade, 4th grade? Because in 1996, I was 14. I was in 8th grade. So that means you're 3 years younger. So what? You were in, is that 5th grade? 5th grade? Yeah? 5th or 6th? Did anything big happen you remember? I mean, it's hard to remember some of that stuff, I know. But oh, wait, I need to go down to the chat. You can't think of anything in 2008. You were not living a good life, drinking too much in an abusive relationship. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, like I said, I have that happen where people can't figure things, or there aren't things that happened or they don't remember. You moved back in with your grandma. You moved back in with your grandma at this time. So that's a significant event. Now let's go to someone else. Let's go to someone else. Someone else. Someone else. Someone else. Someone else. Someone else. We did Tina. We did Lydia. We did Ashley. There's no, I can't. I can't use. So, Priestess Shakti, am I going to get in trouble for using that word? Because it was even figurative, it was career. Oh, Empress Adele. But Priestess Shakti seems to know the score here. So, I wonder what will happen. I don't want to get in trouble for that word. I don't want to get in trouble with that word. Do I have to go back and edit this? I didn't even, like, it just gets posted to YouTube. Anyway, we'll do Adele. 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 April 20th, 71. Adele. You're born April 20th? That's the same birthday as Hitler. That's no good. I'm kidding. It doesn't mean anything. Just means you're likely a Taurus, although we'll see. Because it's not always that clean cut. 11:41 a.m. 11:41 a.m. 11:41 a.m. Harrogate, UK. Let's see what's going on with you. Adele. Adele. Dude, you're getting Adele. Sorry. So your progressed son changed quickly, right? Well, I mean, you were born in 71, so we have more to look at with you, and that'll be great. Progressed sun, Mercury was retrograde, so Mercury went direct at some point, and nothing else. Oh, Jupiter and Neptune retrograde. So if I mean, anyway, we'll look and see if any of these guys go direct. Okay. Okay. Oh wait, we were gonna do the progressed. There we go. Progressed. My goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my damn. So this is the progressed chart right now. So you're approaching a progressed. Oh wait, no, yeah. Are you? Yeah, you're coming off of a progressed full moon. That's wild. When was this? Not too long ago. Not too long. This was 2020. Late 2020. So late 2020, early 2021 were probably quite significant, were they? Perhaps. Were they perhaps demonized for what? No, not demonized. No, I'm not monetized yet. But I'm going to try and monetize at some point, you know? Gosh, well that's SUKCS. That sucks. So stupid. Like even figuratively, like whatever, like your S word. So goofy. I know YouTube relaxed a bunch of lately, but I just noticed was certain words, certain trigger words within YouTube. Stop it! Stop blinking! Stop blinking! Well, that sucks. I'm not monetized yet, but I'm trying to get there. Because Facebook stopped paying me because they suck. And they hate me in particular. Stop it. Stop blinking. I think it's because I plugged my phone in here. Dude, you're still doing it. Stop. Gosh darn it. Oh my goodness. Oh my damn. It would only affect this stream and not your channel. Yeah, it just sucks because this is a good stream. I say one word. Fuck. Anyway, I'm upset. Progress Pisces moon, not hard to get upset, isn't it? So, well, now I'm a downer. What else happened in your nasty chart? Okay, so we're talking about 2020. Ping, 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 ah. About 18 months ago. About 18 months ago. What happened about 18 months ago? You know, and Miro? What's Miro? I don't know. So ping, 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 ah. And you will be monetized. You can edit the video after, Frankie. Don't worry. I know. I'm just upset. That's all. I can't really hide when I'm upset. So, but I'll try and get off of it. Or get off on it. I don't know. So 2020 and 2021, significant years here, right? Especially early 2021 or late 2020. So I wonder what happened there. Now, did Saturn change sign? Oh no, that's now we're getting to 2030. Sorry. Well, does Saturn ever change signs? Well, this'll be a big event. Look at that, darling. This is very rare. So in 2030, Empress Adele, Joan Miro, Spanish artist. I have no clue who that is. I'm sorry. I don't know who that is. What Spanish artist do I know besides Pablo Picasso? There's another famous Spanish artist. Diego Rivera, right? No, he's not Spanish, is he? No. No, he's not Spanish. I don't think so. Wasn't he South American? Anyway, I'm getting stuck on a whole other thing. Sade, Satie? I mean Sade the singer? Greco? I don't know what you all are on about now. So anyway, um, 2030. Look at that. Oh, Frida Kahlo. I love Frida Kahlo. I know her. She's awesome. I love Frida. Yeah. Frida's my girl. Dali, Salvador Dali, you're right. Dali was Spanish. He was. He was also a fascist. He supported Francisco Franco. Dali was not a nice person. He called himself both an anarchist and a monarchist at the same time. So, samesies. Yeah, I love Sade. I love that song Jezebel. Jezebel wasn't born with a silver spoon in her mouth. What about Indian astrology? Sade Sati, Indian astrology. Anyway, Sarah Painter just asked a question. I don't know what it is. Wow, didn't know that. Yeah. Yeah, Salvador Dali was a fascist. So, supported Francisco Franco. Yes, and the ordinary love. So anyway, this is a big deal. 2030, progress Saturn, changing signs. Don't worry, I'm going to try and get to people. I'm going to go quicker, chill the F out. I'm going to go a little bit over. I'm not going to stop right at 7. I wanted to jump on naughty stuff after this, but I don't know if I have the gumption. I did it last night, and I didn't get as popular as I usually do. Um, so, 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 so. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. This is a good one. You hope yours is coming and didn't miss it. I didn't get to yours. I didn't get to yours. So here, your progressed descendant went into Virgo in 2013, the end of 2013, beginning of 2014. So this may have been a big change in life direction at this time. That would have been a big change in life direction. Now let's look at one more here. Were there any retrogrades direct? Oh, we looked at Pluto going direct, didn't we? Already? I will try and get to you, sweetheart. I will try and get to people. Okay, did we talk about progressed Pluto? Progressed Pluto went direct in 2019. 2019. So that probably was quite significant. And let's look at one more. Let's look at the progressed new moon quick, because those are always wacky. Usually wacky. So then, so this would have been April, May 2005. April, May 2005. So that was probably pretty wild. 2030, that's when Saturn, changes signs for you. So that would be pretty wild. 2030, yeah. Wackadoodle, I know. I'm full of weird isms. I'll say Frankie isms. Okay, so who was after Adele? Adele. We had Thin Lizzy. Thin Lizzy or Lizzie the Leslie. Sorry, I just, I'm not saying anything. I just have to, I always have to make up goofy nicknames. Tustin, California love. Excuse me. Oops. What do we have here? We have Pluto retrograde, we have Mars retrograde, we have Saturn retrograde. Oh, excuse me. And we have Uranus retrograde and Neptune retrograde. Couple interesting things. Let's look at progressed. California love. California knows how to party. You just came off of a progressed moon. Oh, progressed new moon, sorry. In the city of Sarah Painter. In the city. The city of Lizzie. Sorry. There we go. 2020. That would have been your progressed new moon. So 2020, pretty wacky year, huh? Something big happened 2020. Tell me. Well, you don't have to, but tell me what happened. And then right after that, oh, well, that hasn't happened yet. Oops. Oh, wait, yes. Oh, you're in the midst of something fun. Look at you. This just happened recently. So Mercury changed signs. Your progressed Mercury changed signs into Gemini, where he wants to be. Or they, Gemini, Mercury's sort of non-binary. Aren't they? Aren't they? So, so I'd have to download this video and edit it again. I wonder if I could download it from. Gosh, that's so terrible. Ugh. One comment. It's so funny. One comment can derail hours and hours of work. So awful. But anyway, 2022. This was October of last year, right? So this is pretty significant. So this was just. So you've probably had some big life change just happen recently, or maybe changed life direction or career goals, or something to do with Mercury, money situation, business, commerce, what you do for work, how you think, speak, and express. That's pretty wild. You could make it private and cut out the part you want gone and repost. Oh, I can do that on YouTube? I can do that on YouTube? Okay. Oh, you're saying make it private and okay. Well, I'll have to do that at some point. Just because this is a good one. This is at least practical. Progressions are very practical. So okay, so 2022. So October. Now you're probably still dealing with the effects of this. This is pretty cool. This is pretty cool because Mercury will be here for a long time. My progressed Mercury just went into Cancer. That's a lot less cool. So cool. I can do it on YouTube, Priestess. Thank you. That's very cool. I appreciate that. Where? I wonder why. Why? Wonder why. Why? Who else can we look at here? Whoa, okay, Venus. Venus went into Cancer. When was this? 2019? Yeah. 2018. Well, we'll call it 2019 because it's the very end. It's December of 2018. But I suspect that was sort of an important time. Venus changing signs. And now, and I will always love you. And now let's look at your progressed full moon. 2006. So the latter half of 2006 into 2007, You don't even know how to explain how big it was. It was a big mental change. Well, I hope it was I hope it was good. You don't have to tell me. But I do imagine that this was an important time. 2006. Oh, thank you. You, I will always love you. Sorry, I won't go there. I won't go there right now. I won't go there. So I think this was a big time, 2006, 2007. Now, last thing, and we'll get to someone else's. Last thing. I missed the progressed ascendant. Oh, no, that's in the future. No, we're good. We're good. Let's move on to the next person's. So we did Thin Lizzy. Oops. Thin Lizzy. Who the hell is next? Thin Lizzy. Ashlyn. I think I have your chart still in here from last time, Ashlyn. Maybe I could open. Ashlyn. Or I'll just do it again. Because I don't want your other information showing up. Ashlyn, 11/27, 1990. Houston, Texas. 12:59 p.m. in Houston, Texas. I'm from Texas. Houston. My mama, Marianne Williamson, I call her my mama, but I wish she was my mom. She's too young to be my mom. But Marianne Williamson, or maybe she's not. I think she's around my mom's age. I have her chart right here. Yes, I know, ADHD. I know, I'm sorry. Oh, she was born the year after my mom. Almost exactly a year after my mom. They're both cancers. That's so funny. I wish Marianne was my mama. But yeah. Well, I don't even remember what I was saying about her. So anyway, anything? Mars is retrograde. Okay. Otay. Progressed chart. Otay. Well, I'm going to have to redo this now. Thank you for telling me, Shakti. Priestess Shakti. Now I just have to... this is a good one. It's just why did I have to go and say that word? I'm a survivor. And how can I tell a story about my father if I can't use that word? And I really admired the man. He was a pretty brilliant guy. He was a genius, He had me learn the 5 pillars of Islam when I was like 10 years old. He made me listen to economic stuff. He was very conservative Republican, but he had me learn about John Maynard Keynes, when I was like 12 years old. And, he was military, so he traveled the world. So, very interesting influence. He also had a very sick sense of humor and got me into kink, He had probably like 10 to 12 full banker's boxes full of like kink material, that I would find here and there. So anyway, I learned really young that I liked leather. I like leather. And you are approaching a progressed full moon in just a few years. In just a few years, you're coming up on a big time in your life, sweetheart. My darling, we're talking 2024 next year. Holy shoot. Look at you. This will be a fun time. So let's look at your progressed new moon and see if we can get an inclination about what that might feel like. So, somebody's coming. Somebody's coming. It's not me right now. March of 2010. So what happened in March of 2010? Pray tell, was this a big deal? Sounds like he was an interesting guy. Oh, yeah, he was an interesting guy. So, anyway, so yeah, he was a Scorpio moon. But this is probably a big time. 2010. 2010, big time. Big time 2010. 2010, big time for you. Definitely, definitely 2010. Let's look at something else here. Let's look at something else. Oh, Mars is about to. Oh, let's see. What was Mars doing? What was Mars doing? Mars was retrograde. Mars was retrograde and went back into Taurus, where he doesn't like to be. So, what happened in 2007? 2007 was probably wild. Your dad was a Scorpio moon, too? Yeah. Well, Ashlyn, what happened in 2007? 2007. Now, did Mars ever go direct? You left your abusive partner in March 2010. Yeah. Well, that's wild. I mean, I'd even expect maybe there to be a little margin of error 6 months either way. But that's wild. I mean, that's that same month. Gosh. Mm. Oh, oh, excuse me. It's my hiatal hernia. I know, I'm full of maladies, aren't I? Oh, wait. This is when Mars stations direct. So you see, you have some big things happening. Like, so you're going to have this progressed full moon, right? And then you're going to have Mars go direct at the same time. So that's pretty cool. When Mars goes direct, you're probably going to feel like you come out of a cage a little bit, you know? I mean, not the same way as when Saturn goes direct, where you're sort of like, all your structure's gone. But, when Mars is retrograde in our birth charts, he doesn't do any good stuff till we get older, if he does any good stuff at all. But it also tends to make us a little bit, passive aggressive or timid or shy or shying away from things or avoiding things, I suppose. When he goes direct, it typically is like add some fuerza, right? Some force to whatever it is you do. And then Mars will eventually go into Gemini again. Not for a long time, but eventually. What's that? 2045. So 2045, definitely 2045. And then your progressed descendant just changed signs. Oh my gosh. So this is wild too. This is wild. Your progressed descendant just changed signs. Like recently. Like in January. You're looking forward to Mars going direct? You have heard fun times. I know, right? So anyway, your progressed descendant just changed. That typically means, again, a new sort of life direction. Or, taking a new direction in life, which is the same thing, saying it in a different way. Right? But yeah, this is a big occurrence. This only happens what? Like, how often is I forget. I want to say like 30 years or more. No, let's see. How long does the progressed descendant stay in a sign? It's not 30 years. Well, it's close. 25 years? 20 years. 20 years. 21, 2, 3, 4. Like 24 years, I guess, which would make sense. So 24 years, right? So that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. Well, anything big happen? Your progressed descendant. Huh? Oh, well, it was in Aries. Now it's in Taurus. So, GERD, the 420 is not your friend right now? Oh, well, I mean, before I got on here, I was, Um, I mean, I'm slow too, I suppose. You're progressed descendant. Yeah. You're progressed descendant, right? This is 2023, January, right? Here we are, Taurus. Before it was an Aries. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So we did a couple of yours, Ashlyn, so we're going to move on to something else. Nothing big yet? Well, give it time, sweetheart. Give it time. Do do do. Do do do. Oh, okay. So progressed sun, right? So 2016. Oh no, 2015. 2015. 2015, 2016. So progressed sun changing to Capricorn 2015, late April. So 2015 was probably a significant change. I bet you went from being, I bet you became less fun. You know, less fun. When did Mercury go retrograde or direct? Or does he? Okay, no. When, you know what? I gotta move on to someone else's. So we did Ashlyn. Ashlyn. You're related to Eisenhower. No way. That's so funny. That's so interesting. I mean, he did some good things, but he fell asleep as president. The top marginal tax rate under Eisenhower was 90%. Masonic knowledge. Love listening to you. History repeating. Yeah, Masons were targeted by the Nazis because they thought of it as Jewish. So, okay, now it's Sarah Painter from Ojai, California. You live in Ojai? One of my guru types that I love, John Sherman, lives up in Ojai. If you can ever see the stuff that I preach, it's, the self-remembering stuff and self-observation, it comes mostly from Ramana Maharshi. And one of Ramana's disciples was a guru for John Sherman. And John Sherman distilled this whole practice down to what I preach right now, which is just learning to look, learning to put the attention on the sensation of being you. That exercise is basically straight from John Sherman and Ramana Maharshi. So, and it's in my 27 years in the occult. And watch my video on it. It's important. I'll have to redo that video. But, 625, 1986, Ojai, 1536, and Ojai. I mean, there's tons of hippie trippy nonsense people in Ojai, but John Sherman's the real deal. He's the real deal. He's the real deal. The regal beagle. A Pluto conjuncture ascendant like my daughter. I have it square. Do. Oh, and Sun trine the ascendant like me too. Look at that. We're sort of very upfront with people. We have a hard time being disingenuous or hiding even if we want to. Almost to a fault. Sun opposite Neptune, though. Watch out. Watch out for drugs and alcohol, and or avoiding, explaining away red flags and apologizing for people's nonsense. Okay. Let's do the progress chart. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. That's the kind of thing I would typically edit out. And I don't even have an well, I guess I have to edit this nonsense. Ugh. So anyway, your progress chart here. Did you have Saturn retrograde, and Mercury retrograde, and Mars retrograde before? Saturn retrograde. Pluto is, Saturn is, yes. Mars is. Mercury's not. Okay. Mercury is not. Oh, well, so you're approaching a progressed new moon here relatively soon. This is 2027. That'll be a big time in your life. I hope you have the time of your life. I liked Green Day when I was like in 5th grade. When that first album came out, I was in like 5th or 6th grade. And I remember getting it. And I remember I loved that one song, When I Come Around. Let's see. Mercury goes in. Well, that's not for a while. Let's go back in time. Does Mars ever go direct? Ooh, not for a while, but you know, it's not that far away. 2034? That'll be a big deal. Like, finally, someone let me out of my cage. Doop 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 na 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 na. I don't remember it. No, I couldn't be there. No, you shouldn't be scared and underprepared and something to scared. Animal, blanimal, flanimal. Spaghetti, spaghetti, spaghetti. There's vomit on my sweater already. Mom, spaghetti. I'm just being a dork. I'm being a dork. I'm sorry. Now, this is your progressed full moon here. What kind of nonsense happened here? This was the very end of 2011. So I'd say 2012, big year. 2012, big year. Definitely a big year. You can escape easily. Yes. I mean, just you got to be honest about people. You know, because otherwise you'll let yourself get into stupid situations where people treat you like garbage because you're like, well, they mean well, or it's not their fault. You know, it doesn't matter if they mean well or if it's not their fault. What matters is what your experience is with it. If you can't deal with it, you know, especially if you have children, because our children always come first. Always, always, always. So, yeah, Dookie, that's what it was called. When I come around. So I gotta get to Priestess Shakti too. So that's a big deal. 2011. I mean, I imagine it was. So where's Mercury? Wonder when Mercury went retrograde. Wait, how old are you again? Oh, 1986. So let's not go back too far. When I come around. What was that? Do you have the time to listen to me whine? You know, they tried to sound punk, but they weren't really punk, were they? They weren't really punk. I like The Clash. Daddy was a bank robber, but he never hurt nobody. Okay. Oh, did this happen? Did that happen? Yeah, that happened. Here we go. This is quite interesting. This is quite interesting. Progressed Ascendant went into Sagittarius in 2017, the end of 2017. That's a big deal. Hi, Allison. I wish you got to see the beginning part of it, my darling. Hip Mama had you there. You'll sing. You'll sing it for 2034. You moved. You love The Clash. Yeah, me too. London calling from the faraway tower. War is prepared and something unknown. London calling. And I live by the river. Oh, oh. So Ascendant, 2017. Big deal, yeah? Big deal. 2018, probably big deal more. Because this is the end. Oh, you moved cross country. Well, that's a big life direction change, isn't it? Oh, 2011? Oh, I was talking about 2017. What about 2011? What was 2011? London calling. London calling from a faraway tower. Oh, well, no, that's not till 2013. That's not till 2013. What was I talking about? I was talking about your progressed. Yeah, 2018, I imagine, was sort of a big deal. You don't make me put my flannel pants on. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, sorry. I guess I'm not going live on the adult side after this. I don't want to be yawning on that. That's really not desirable for people, you know. Oh, Mercury started going retrograde. That's what it was. That's what it was. So here we go. Now, Mercury went retrograde back into Cancer in 2014. So 2014, big year, yeah, big year. Might have been difficult when it comes to business, mind, money, speaking, writing, expression, all that sort of thing. That can be a difficult change. Oh, oh, excuse me. What other what other Clash songs do I love? There's other ones I can't remember. I just remember the bank robber one because of Guy Ritchie right now. Daddy was a bank robber, but he never hurt nobody. Well, there you go. I Met Your Man in 2017. Did anything happen in 2014? But he never met nobody. I just live, or I just love to live that way, or something. Daddy was bank robber. What about Mercury? When did Mercury go direct or retrograde? So here we go. Mercury stationing retrograde. So that would have been, ooh, the year 2000. In the year 2000. In the year 2000. Punker reference. I used to listen to the Vandals and Guttermouth, like all these stupid punk bands that were big in the 90s. Who else? Pennywise, NoFX. I used to love that Pennywise song, the bro theme or something. Whoa, whoa. Or NoFX, don't call me white. Don't call me white. So, but that's a whole other thing. So 2000, the year 2000. Now where's Priestess? Where's Priestess? Priestess, Priestess. Oh, I should have done you before, Priestess. I'm so sorry. Priestess. Priestess, I hope you're still here, Priestess. I hope you're still here, Priestess. 11 4 79. I hope you're still here, Priestess. I'm so sorry. I hope you're still here. New York. There was this guy in America's Got Talent, Big Barry. He was a little person, and he was singing New York, but he couldn't sing. He's like, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. New York. And it was really painful to watch. But Howie Mandel loved it for some reason. I don't know. Well, I mean, it was goofy to him. That's why. So, Priestess, Priestess. No retrogrades. No retrogrades. So let's look at the progressed. No retro. Speed limit. Season ticket on a one-way ride. Going down for a time. Something, something gonna be there too. I'm on the highway to hell. Oh, you're also, gosh, approaching a progressed new moon here. Very soon. Very soon, the end of next year. Oh my gosh, you're approaching a big, 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 big time in your life. Another one. It's quite significant there. It's quite significant there. Oh, not months, years. Well, let's see what else we've got going on. Time after time, time after time. Um, what else? What else has changed? What else has changed? Mercury. Mercury changed signs. Oh, sorry. Sorry. That's very unprofessional. So 2017, that would have been a big change. May, late April, early May 2017. April, May 2017. Where's your ascendant? Let me see what else is going on here. That's too far. That's not far enough. Year? Okay, here we are. Progressed full moon. Let's see, not days, months. Months, months, months. So your progressed full moon, oh, I went too far, sorry, was 2008. Wild. So 2008 must have been a wild time, no? Maybe even 2009. So, big deal there. Oh, I should scroll down so I can see what you're saying. Is Priestess here? Oh, Bad Religion. Yeah, Bad Religion was good. You know, I just didn't like the ska stuff. I wasn't really into ska, you know? Although some people did some fun ska stuff. Priestess Shakti. Priestess, was 2008 a big deal at all? And then right before that, what, a year or two? Three? Um, Here we go. Months. When did this happen? Because this is probably a big deal too. 2005. We got spring 2005. When your ascendant went into Virgo, progressed. So this was probably also maybe a big life change or directional change, something that would have affected the subsequent, I don't know, 24 years of your life. Some sort of event. And what else can we find? What else can we find? Years. How many years can we go? When did... Oh, well, that's... 2027, your progressed sun will change signs into Capricorn. So that will be a big deal, but that's a little ways away. Yes, all of those things, deaths, big breakups, 2006, when you died of your moms. Yes, it did, yeah. Well, I'm sorry about those difficult things, my darling. Time after time, lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick and think of you. No, I went back. What, you were born in, what, 79? 79, that's 94. Yeah, 79. So 94, you know, I'm 1983, and in 94, I was buying my first Smashing Pumpkins cassette tape. So I was in fifth grade. So you are what? 4 or 5 years older than me? 4 years older than me? So you were what? Ninth grade. You were just getting into high school, right? You were just getting into high school. So this is a progressed new moon. Do you remember just getting into high school? I mean, it probably was a difficult time, but for you, it was especially difficult. Ninth grade, perhaps? Was this ninth grade for you, 1994? Lying in my bed, I hear. Oh, and right after that, then progressed Mars went into Virgo. That's a big deal. Oh, Smashing Pumpkins. Oh, gosh. Time is never time at all. You can never ever leave. Oh, but it was Siamese Dream. disarm you with a smile, and call you like you want me to. Cut that little child inside of me and such a part of you. Oh, how this chart burns. We talked about that. It was a big one that shaped you, right? Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Well, let's see. You know what? I went fudge, fudge. I've gone almost. I've gone 2.5 hours. We'll really quickly look at our other friend, Allison Schultz. Allison Chains. What is that? Take my eyes. Can you sew them shut? Jesus Christ. Deny your maker. Allison Schultz. Where's your birth info again? Allison Schultz. Allison Schultz. I see it. Allison Schultz. Allison Chains. Allison Chains. I love Lane Staley. Lane Staley, that was his name. Take my eyes. Can you sew them? Jesus Christ. Deny your maker. Be my love. I don't know the lyrics. I don't remember. Huntington. Like Paddington, but Huntington. Paddington Bear. So, anything retro. So retro. Saturn's retro. Saturn is retro. Saturn is retro. No one even says retro. In the 90s, retro was sort of a thing. Or maybe it was the 80s, you know. The 80s. Okay. Jesus Christ. Allison Schultz. Feed my life. Okay. Wait, wasn't Saturn retrograde? Wasn't Saturn? No. Oh yeah, Saturn is retrograde. This is wonderful. And you had Saturn go direct. So this is lovely. Feed my life. Wait, you're 1987, right? Yeah, okay. So you're my little brother's age. My little brother. Jesus Christ. Oh, and you have Jupiter retrograde here. So this is a kettle of fish here, a different kettle of fish. A horse of multiple colors. A horse with a many technicolored raincoat. Even. Heavens to Murgatroyd even. When did Saturn go direct? Oh, there we go. So what was that, 2010? Oops, month 2010. There we go. 2009. So 2009. Big deal. You know, like I said, finally someone let me out of my cage. You know, I ain't happy. I'm feeling bad. I got sunshine. And I'm back and I'm useless. But you're not useless, because after this in 2009, it probably felt like either it was scary, like you had no more structure, or it felt like you'd been sort of let out of, you know, a prison of the mind, you know. I ain't happy. I'm feeling bad. I got sunshine. And I'm back and I'm useless. But not for long, this Jupiter is coming on. So right after that, progressed Jupiter went retrograde. It's a big deal. That doesn't happen for most people in their lifetimes. Most people do not have progressed Jupiter go retrograde. So this is, it was probably a big time in your life, 2009, 2010. Oftentimes it feels like, sometimes we feel like, we're a little guru type or we come into our own in that way. But when it's retrograde, it can be more difficult. Barack Obama was elected when his progressed Jupiter stationed direct, which is sort of interesting. And then Trump was elected when Obama's progressed Saturn stationed retrograde, I think, or direct or retrograde, one of the two. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. We're bigger than Jesus, aren't we? That's my John Lennon impression. We're bigger than Jesus. Okay, so 2014 progressed new moon. This was another big deal. So, play Freebird. Oh, don't get me started on Freebird. I'm as free as a bird now. And this bird you cannot change. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And this bird you cannot change. And this bird you cannot change. Whoa, Lord, I can't change. I forget the beginning part of the song. If I leave here with you, things won't ever be the same. 'Cause I'm as free as a bird now. Your daughter was born in 2014. See, this is what I see a lot, like the positive, the positive versions of the progressed lunations. I see a lot of children and marriages, you know? Oh Lord, I can't change. I used to play that. I play guitar. I used to play that solo, my own version of it. Anyway, I won't go off on that. Lynyrd Skynyrd, define irony. A bunch of idiots dancing in a plane to a song made famous by a band who died in a plane crash. That's from Con Air. Oh yeah, would you still remember me? 'Cause I'm as free as a bird now. And this bird you cannot change. It's the one I like? Tuesday's Gone. Tuesday's Gone. I like that song. Not Sweet Home Alabama. Well, I hope Neil Young will remember. A southern man don't needs him around, or doesn't need him around, no, not at all. Southern man gonna keep your head. Anyway, Neil Young too. And there's Neil Diamond. Sweet Caroline. Don't, sweet Caroline. I'm feeling fine. So you were born in 87. 87, right? Was it 87? So I can't go back too far because you won't remember. But let's say 1999. Not 666, but 999. It's in 1999. That was from another movie. I was just, I'm a pop culture from the 90s and the 80s. So 1999, big time, no? Big time. Progressed full moon. Progressed full moon. So this must have been a big time. We'll look at one more. Do we have time for one more? Do we have room for one more? Okay, here it happens. Oh, we talked about that. Jupiter stationing. You hit puberty and got your period. Well, that's sort of a big life event. It's bigger for some people than others, Oh, can't change. You had to go and mention Freebird. Oh my God, why did you do that? I'm just singing this all night now. If I do go on live on the naughty site, I'm going to be like, oh Lord, I can't change. You hit puberty and got your period. Okay, Mars. Here we go. 2013. Mars going into Virgo. So I wonder if this was a big deal. Mars changing signs. Mars going into Virgo. 2012. It was 2012 into 2013. So I wonder if that was a significant time. Time after time. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Occasionally. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Some of the time. That's what air signs say. Some of the time. Some of the time. I love Cyndi Lauper. She's Aquarius rising like me. She's one of my heroes. Well, I look hideous. I haven't been seeing myself this whole time. I look disgusting. Maybe it's better if I, edit myself out of this. Jeez, Louise. Oh, Romy and Michelle's high school reunion is one of my favorite movies, too. It's such a good movie. I invented Post-its, right? And Alan Cummings is a boss. He's amazing. I love him, you know? No, you don't what? Oh, I don't look disgusting? Well, thank you. I feel gross, and my face is all flush because, Mars combust. I have Mars trying my rising, and a lot of people with Mars aspecting their sun or rising get very dry skin and get red and flushed and blushed easy. But yeah, I love Romy and Michelle. Hey, Toby, F off. I love Janine Garofalo. I thought Janine Garofalo was hot. I used to have a crush on her when I was a kid. I thought she was hot. That's my type, That's sort of my type, Janine Garofalo. And I saw her stand-up set one time, and she was really funny. She was really good live. She was really good live. Like most comedians suck live. Like Dave Chappelle, I saw him live and he sucked. Like he just tells the same stuff over and over again, And it was all the same stuff from his other shows. So it wasn't all that interesting. Oh, same chick from The Craft. Do not mention Fairuza Balk. I was obsessed with her as a kid. Oh my God. First of all, she was the star in Return to Oz, right? The sequel to Wizard of Oz, which was very dark, right? But it was so good. Queen Mombi, right? Would take off her head. But then Fairuza Balk shows up later when I'm in high school in The Craft, or maybe when I was in middle school or high school. But The Craft, oh my God. She is so gorgeous. She is so gorgeous. And you know what? Her mouth. I love those giant mouths and her big eyes. Like, oh gosh, she's so beautiful to me. And then she was in The Waterboy. And I'm like, no, don't be with Adam Sandler. He's stupid. Be with me, Oh, she's so gorgeous. And she's only 40 something. She's still young. She was born in like 78 or whatever. I've dated, my fair share of women who are good 5 or 10 years older than me, So I have mommy issues, obviously, I have to ask my partners first. Can I call you mommy? Is that okay? I mean, you have to put everything on the table, Oh, Waterboy. I know, Waterboy's funny. Especially Henry Winkler. They have the Fonz in it. Henry Winkler. Roy Orbison, right? He's got a tattoo of Roy Orbison. Yeah, she is so hot, Fairuza Balk. I'm still in love with her. Oh my gosh, I went 3 hours tonight. You awful people. I must love you because I went for 3 hours. Cheesy crazy. Oh my goodness. Well, I guess I'll go. I love you. Please like the stream. I don't know if anyone's still even here. Oh, 11 people are here. So make sure you like the stream. Like the dang stream. This whole stream already has been tainted by the S word. So I have to go back and edit it. But Priestess Shakti says I can, right? And you can see my screen over here. Wait, over there. No, there. This screen over here is Oblivion, right? You can see it goes into forever. So, well, anyway, like the stream. Get your friends to come and subscribe. This is like a free effing class, on progression. So let's pass along the good word. I love you all. I love you. Thank you, and thank you for saying I'm not ugly. That's very sweet of you.